All right, Rusty Mansell joining me for some quick hitters right now. And today on Monday, May 15th, Rusty, and pretty much every day right now, Georgia fans want to know about Dylan Raiola. And we've gotten a little bit of a juicy update here with Dan Orlovsky and a cryptic tweet saying that things are about to pop off in Athens, essentially. I thought he was talking about the grill reopening downtown, but I don't think that's it. And then on top of that, Dylan's sister, Taylor, quote tweeted Orlovsky's tweet with a few dog emojis. What's going on here, man? Is this just too obvious?
Well, for me, like you said, I thought Guthrie was about to reopen. I mean, I was about to gain 10 pounds of extra sauce immediately. So, but his relationship with the family, and then when you see the sister quote tweet with dog emojis, and here, she's a volleyball player at TCU, so that stokes the fire. Let's don't beat around the bush. I mean, he's connected to that family. He said 2 years ago, I believe, that he thought Dylan Raiola would be the number one player in the country after knowing him and seeing him and growing up and work out and those types of things. So, look, he's a 5-star quarterback. He has a lot of attention on him. Obviously, there's ties in Nebraska, USC. Well, Lincoln Riley's recruiting him. He has an uncle that coaches in Nebraska. His dad played in Nebraska. Was committed to Ohio State at one point, but Georgia seems to be that team, Wes, that there's just the buzz is there. He has not committed right now, and that's kind of a daily watch. My personal opinion, I think this could get into early June. We'll see as the days and weeks go on. The first thing you're going to watch, Wes, and we'll follow it all week on DawgsHQ, is does he show up in Athens this weekend for the scavenger hunt? I think he does, but that's not 100% yet. I want to see him step on campus this weekend. And West, if he does, that means he would be on campus 2 out of the next 3 weekends, I believe, or 2 out of the next 4 weekends with his official visit set for June the 2nd. That would be massive to get him back-to-back on that short of time frame in Athens.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Athens in the summertime, a great time to be a top-notch recruit in America. For some of these visits. For the people that don't know what this scavenger hunt entails, whether Dylan is there or not, why is this such an important weekend for Georgia?
Anybody that's followed recruiting, followed the old dog night. You remember that Mark Rick started back in July. Next thing you know, it got so big that, quite honestly, they couldn't control it. So you look at the scavenger hunt, and Kirby Smart and his team came up with that, but it's a much smaller, condensed, and each prospect is paired up with a coach. So there'll be 5 or 6 prospects and families with Glenn Schumann, 5 or 6 prospects with Stacy Searles, 5 or 6 prospects with Mike Bobo. And they'll go around the campus, and it's a scavenger hunt. You have to take a picture. You have to take a picture with this. At some point, you have to find Kirby Smart, and that group has to take a picture with Kirby Smart. So there's all these boxes you have to check off, and it's really become a cool thing. It was kind of gimmicky at first, but it is one of Georgia's biggest recruiting weekends. And now, Wes, for the first time, they're going to have some official visitors. So Jake Roos reported those this morning on DawgsHQ about the official visitor. We could talk about it if you want to. Jeremiah Smith, one of the top wide receiver prospects in a long time. When they start throwing around words like Julio and AJ about a kid and people I know, that tells you the difference maker. He is going to be on campus this weekend for an official visit. So it's a big, massive weekend for Georgia recruiting.
Yeah, we were talking about that on our Sunday night episode of the Georgia show while we were live, and I've kept up with that kid loosely, not as in-depth as y'all have, but when Roos threw out the Julio Jones comparison, I about had to pick my jaw up off the floor because we remember that summer when it was Julio, it was AJ Green, and both of those guys in that same recruiting class. And actually On3's scouting department compares Smith to AJ Green. So that's a pretty intriguing thing to look at there, especially when you talk about Raiola potentially coming to Georgia and the talent that he could bring with him. That's big. Let's switch gears to some high school competition in the state, Rusty. Buford and Norcross saw some pretty elite talent with KJ Bolden competing. And, we always ask, can Georgia get talent out of Buford? What's it going to take? And what did we learn from that scrimmage?
Well, obviously KJ Bolden and Edric Houston are the two names. Now, ironically, Trey Scott was there because Edric Houston is one of the top defensive line targets for Georgia, and he should be. He's at a position of need at that defensive end, kind of 5 technique position. Trey Scott was there on campus. Here's KJ Bolden was actually running in the state track meet. And that is big world problems when you got a 5-star player that's at the state track meet for the weekend. So when you look at Buford, I always get the questions, when is Georgia going to get a player out of Buford? And I tell them, listen, they're not going 0 for 2 here. Now, I know Georgia fans want to go 2 for 2, so we'll see if that happens. But I think Georgia is going to land at least one of these two. I love Edric Houston, man. I mean, since I've met him, when I go there, they rave about him off the field. And the same with KJ Bolden. Known him since he's a freshman, know his mom, know that whole family well. But I've covered KJ for a long time. But Edric Houston's a player that kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And if there's one thing, if you want to get picky, Wes, if there's one thing you want to get picky with, Georgia's had trouble signing, especially last year, at 5 technique defensive end. That's 6'5", 270-pound guy. They lost a guy, Vic Burley, out of Warner Robins, went to Clemson. They lost Kelby Collins out of Birmingham to Florida. Cameron James was a major target for Georgia. They lost him to Florida. So they've got to close some guys. I saw a guy last week that Georgia's all over as well at Mountain View High School, Justin Green, 6'4.5", 265 pounds. So he fits the mold. So if Georgia could go 2 for 2 in Gwinnett County with Edric Houston and Justin Green, I know Trey Scott would be extremely happy.
Yeah, look, Trey Scott, no stranger to criticism from the Georgia fan base over the last several years. That's died down. He got a well-deserved raise, but I think he can earn a little bit more with a pickup like Houston, man. That's big time. Rusty, I appreciate it as always. Hope you have a great week. We'll check back in with you over at DawgsHQ.com. See you.